Hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Peter and the organizers of the conference for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Khrystyna Bockkay, and for 3 years now, I have been working as an academic advisor to the technical staff at the ISSB, which is part of the IFRS Foundation. I'm doing this job part-time, and as for my full-time job, I'm an associate professor of accounting at the University of Miami, and I have been here at UM since 2014. In today's presentation, I will give a brief overview of the ISSB, how and why the board was established. I will also talk about the recent developments. I will talk about the milestones at the ISSB. And towards the end of my presentation, I will highlight some opportunities for research, and this is for the academic audience who is listening to this presentation. So let's get started. I just want to emphasize that in my presentation, I'm talking about sustainability issues that are financially material, and the audience for which we are preparing this information is investors and other providers of capital. So just to give an example what I mean by financially material sustainability issues, let's consider water, which is a critical raw material for beverage companies. Increasing water scarcity and quality degradation pose significant operating risks for beverage companies out there, especially those that operate in water-stressed regions. Financial statements alone do provide information on the cost of water and assets in place and infrastructure in place that company has to manage this raw material. However, the financial statements alone don't give investors the complete picture on the company's exposure to risk related to the water as a raw material. So this is what I mean by financially material sustainability issue. And this is where I want to highlight how sustainability reporting can provide investors with a more complete picture to set their expectations and to better understand the risk that the company is facing. Okay, so you may say, "Oh, Khrystyna, but companies have been reporting sustainability issues for providing sustainability disclosures for a while now. Why do we need more work in this space? Why do we need standards and so on?" Yes, indeed, we have years of sustainability reporting. However, that reporting has been often fragmented. It was prepared for different audiences, as well as there were a lot of inconsistencies among companies with respect to what they are highlighting, what metrics they are using, as well as inconsistencies over time. So there was very little comparability across companies and over time. Recognizing these issues, the ISSB was established in 2021 with the goal of developing sustainability disclosure standards for the use by companies to provide decision-useful information to investors. Another reason for establishment of the ISSB was to end an alphabet soup of voluntary initiatives, and again to align global players and to facilitate companies reporting on financially material sustainability matters. I do want to emphasize that ISSB has a very rigorous, transparent, and market-informed due process. And this due process is because of the 3-tier governance structure that currently is present at the IFRS Foundation. We have the monitoring board that consists of regulators that oversee corporate reporting around the globe. And that monitoring board is responsible for overseeing the activities at the IFRS Foundation. We have trustees at the IFRS Foundations who are responsible for strategy as well as overseeing the standard setting process of the two boards, IASB and ISSB. The two boards are independent and they are complementary in the sense that I just described was my water example for beverage companies. There was a lot of things that happened. There were a lot of things that happened at the ISSB over the past couple of years. This is just to highlight when ISSB was established. The ISSB was established, how many different developments happened relatively quickly. First, ISSB was able to put together exposure drafts of the first two sustainability disclosure standards, IFRS S1 and IFRS S2. So with that, and the reason why ISSB was able to do it so quickly is because it was not starting from scratch. It was starting from the TCFD. It was starting with SASB standards, CDSB, as well as integrated reporting framework. So it had a solid starting point for putting together a set of global sustainability reporting standards. The standards were finalized and released in 2023. And later endorsed by IOSCO. So let me talk very briefly about the role of the TCFD recommendations. ISSB standards fully incorporate TCFD recommendations in its standards. And these recommendations are for companies to report on governance and oversight of sustainability reporting, report on strategy, risk management, as well as provide metrics and targets relevant to the sustainability reporting. Because of that, because ISSB standards fully recognize TCFD recommendations, TCFD was disbanded in 2023, and from that point, IFRS Foundation has a full responsibility over monitoring the state of climate disclosures and providing updates on the company's progress in the reporting on that matter. So in 2024, IFRS Foundation prepared its first progress report on corporate climate-related disclosures. I was part of the team who was preparing that report. And in the report, we analyzed over 3,800 companies around the globe. And our job was to assess alignment with TCFD recommendations, which are now part of the ISSB standards. What we found was that 82% of companies provide disclosures that are aligned with at least one TCFD recommendation. However, only 3% of companies provided disclosures that were aligned with all 11 TCFD recommendations. And we also saw progress when comparing year over year. In that report, we were comparing 2023 to 2022. Interestingly and importantly, more than 1,000 companies provided references to the ISSB standards, and many of these companies stated their planned alignment with the ISSB standards. As of now, we have 36 jurisdictions that already decided to use ISSB standards or are taking steps to introduce ISSB standards in their legal or regulatory frameworks. Here is the list of jurisdictions that stated that they are planning to use or incorporate ISSB standards. And recently, IFRS Foundation created jurisdictional profiles for those who are interested to learn more and, again, to be transparent with respect to progress towards adoption of the ISSB standards. These are the core activities that are right now that we are targeting right now at the ISSB. The main one is to support the implementation of the two standards, IFRS S1 and IFRS 2. We are also working on the enhancement of SASB standards, and we are currently in the process of conducting new research projects related to human capital and biodiversity. Core activities include connectivity with financial statements, constant engagement with external stakeholders, and also interoperability with other standards like European sustainability standards or GRI standards. Just a few words on what things we are doing to support the implementation of S1 and S2. There are a bunch of educational materials that are being created and updated constantly on the IFRS website. We have a transition implementation group designed to discuss companies' questions related to the implementation of the standards. Last year we released ISSB taxonomy to facilitate digital reporting and digital consumption of information. And this year there were some targeted amendments to ISSB standards, to the climate standard that provide reliefs for GHG emission disclosures. And these amendments were in response to the feedback regarding the application challenges. So these are a few examples of educational materials that were published, and they are all available online. I encourage you to visit the Knowledge Hub, Sustainability Knowledge Hub, and the IFRS Foundation that summarizes, that educates the public, the investors, the companies to facilitate the adoption of the ISSB standards. Very briefly, on the SASB standards, in July this year, there were 2 exposure drafts designed to enhance SASB standards, and they relate to 9 industries, all 8 industries in the extractives sector, as well as food processing industry. Importantly, there is also an exposure draft to align commonly used metrics in SASB standards, and they relate to topics like greenhouse gas emissions, water management, labor practices, health and safety of employees, so on and so forth. So if you work in this space and you have relevant information to share, I encourage you to provide your comments via a survey or in the comment letter. The due date for this is November 30th, 2025. Very briefly on the 2 research projects, human capital and biodiversity, the research work streams that we have in that space include documenting investor interests, providing evidence of financial implications of these sustainability topics, also understanding which existing standards and frameworks are available currently to report on these matters and which frameworks companies are using, and also establish the current state of disclosures. If you work in this space, if you have, again, relevant information, do share with us, with the technical staff, as this all will be useful evidence for us on the matters. I just want to emphasize that these are not standard-setting projects. These are just research projects to assess, to find evidence along these 4 work streams that I just mentioned. Opportunities for research always are to document the state of the standards adoption. What is the company's progress to adopt sustainability standards? What is the state of disclosures? What are the properties of disclosures? Do we see more transparency, comparability? Kind of test this theory of change. What are the costs and implementation challenges when it comes to adopting the standards? What are the benefits and usefulness to investors as a result of the standards adoption? That's all I have for this very brief update from the ISSB. I encourage you to access the ISSB standards, visit the Knowledge Hub, where you can get a lot of useful information from IFRS Foundation on the sustainability disclosure standards and related matters. Thanks for your time and all the best.